Hi everybody, it's your old pal Chuck, and I am back with another review. Today, we're taking a look at, from the Transformers Robots in Disguise line, the massive Power Surge Optimus Prime. Now, this is Power Surge Optimus Prime. I want to stress that because I've seen the term Hyper Surge thrown around, and originally I thought that was actually for the Warrior class version, but I think it's actually the Japanese name. There is a Warrior class version of this figure company, but it's also called Power Surge, but it's visual. You can visually tell the difference in size. But this is like a leader class figure. This is basically what I assume will be the big RID toy for 2016. The holiday season, because during the summer, this is when the product for the fall and winter really starts coming out and being shown, and stores start planning for Christmas. I know it's hard to believe. This is a weaponizer. This is basically the main weaponizer toy that all the other figures are going to be based around. It does have a mini-con. I'm just going to remove it real quick so you can get... This is basically the pure truck. The giant sword he can store. Basically the way it stores is there are some tabs right here that you just slide the sword in. They're in the inside of the arms, and there's little notches in the sword. The instructions aren't that clear about that, and it took me a few minutes to figure it out. It's better to sandwich the arms together first, just to get it done, and then put the sword in. And actually, I was surprised. This does come together quite nicely. I thought there was some issue here with the way the arms tab into the legs, but once you peg the arms together, those will hook in quite nicely. So yeah, there are some lights and sounds in this mode, but I'll be very honest with you, they're more sound than light. So there's a button right here in front of the cab. I should also mention the cab comes detached, as most of us know. It just snaps in by friction, and as you'll see in robot mode, the instructions kind of misrepresent just how far back it can fold. But pushing this button, that's one sound. Now, apparently, if you just press the button, it should just cycle through, just like that. And the lights are coming from here, which are basically the shoulder cannons, which means there's really nothing lighting up in truck mode. I mean, there's no front lights or anything. Do one more. Believe it or not, that's not Peter Cullen. When he's doing like roll out, it sounds just like him, but when you hear the more involved dialogue, you can tell it's a very close voice actor. Okay, so that's basically the sounds for vehicle mode. There's a bit more in robot mode, which we're going to get to right now. Before we take a look at the big beast of Optimus Prime, I thought I wanted to give you a little close-up look of his mini-con Aerobolt. This is, again, supposedly a weaponizer. This is his folded-up mode that would be like chest armor for Prime. I've also seen photos where it's like mounted as a shield of some sort, but it does transform into a bird, so basically just flip the legs down, flip the head up, and then flip the wings out on these hinges. Just the head, and yep, that's about it. They can stand, so you do have that little bit of play value to it. Interestingly enough, the instructions in the packaging describe this as a one-step changer. When just looking at it, I mean, you just saw it clearly isn't, and I think Hasbro's getting a little bit too obsessed with the transformation count. I mean, Prime is supposed to be a 5-step changer, so we're just going to leave them folded up like this. We'll need it in robot mode, which we're going to get into the transformation right now. Okay, I'm gonna try to keep this all in frame as best as I can. I will adjust if I have to, because it does get to be a big robot. Right, what you want to do right away is just split the arms and pull out the sword. It is actually a very nice sword, and the blade does attach from the hilt. I do believe that's with the Japanese like Super Optimus Prime, the black and red one. That was the repaint of the other giant Optimus Prime. You can interchange the hilts and the blades and what have you, so That is very nice, but really cool looking sword. For the transformation, basically the arms do peg together, so you want to just separate them here in the back. Then you're going to rotate them forward, but you have a double hinge system here where it's the white part will peg in, and then there's like a gray section right here that'll come down, and then you just bring the arm down to the side. We can do it again here on this side. Just bring it up. It's like a little, basically like an accordion. That's what you're doing, just like so. So there you have the arms adjusted. Next, what you want to do is, I would suggest before you bring it up, just flip out the heel spurs here. Stand the figure up. Separate the legs. There are like ratchet joints there, but let's see. Oh, there we go. And gonna have to adjust the camera. So here we are at the upper half of Prime. Rotate the waist around so it's facing forward, and then you flip the cab back. There you go. Now, the instructions show this folding all the way back. It doesn't. That's as far as it goes. You try to push it any further, it'll actually pop off. Now, besides being detached in packaging, the other thing is one of the wings is actually popped up. I should have mentioned this in vehicle mode, but if you notice, one of the wings here looks to be a little warped. Now, I don't know if that's because of the packaging or how it's actually designed, but to actually get the figure to work, you need to have everything here in what I call the neutral basic Prime mode. To do that, you'll have to push down on the faceplate to bring down the faceplate and the shoulder guns. The reason that you have to do it that way is this reset button will not work because one of the wings is already down and it blocks the use of the reset button. Pushing the other wing down and then activating the powerizer gimmick will pop everything out and make sure everything's adjusted. Actually, I think I think you do have to pop that other wing down or leave it out and then everything will pop out. It's a little odd and it's a little tricky, but you know, that's how you basically get everything set. Now I'm going to stay focused on the torso here because there is some lights and sounds again here in the chest. Before we get to the powerizer, you just press the button. Again, that sounds just like Peter Cullen, but it's not. And if you wait a minute, you get the transformation sound. I think there's one more thing. No, we're good. Okay, so articulation up here. You did see the waist swivel. There are elbow joints that are kind of tight. I thought they were ratchets, but they're not. You have the outward swivel, arm swivel there, and you have wrist swivel, so you do have some great sword movements. Down here at the hips, you have the forward and back ratchets, hip ratchets, which are really tight, and you have a knee. So, and there is like some play with the ankles, but that's just really for stability. So, right now we're just going to go into how you put the sword in his hand, which is really cool. Okay. You can see right here that the sword has like a little notch on it, and Prime's hand is actually it does have the 5mm peg, but it has that like a little slot for that notch, and that basically it's like a little key. You just go ahead and it's supposed to just slide in, and it actually does hold the sword rather securely. I mean, it is a big beast of a sword, which I do like. I mean, I am slowly getting used to the fact that Optimus Prime really doesn't use an axe much anymore. What is also nice is, since this is a weaponizer, he is compatible with the weaponizer minicons, which we've looked at before, and because of his pronounced size and tightness of joints, he can hold any of them with no problem. So with all that done, let's get into the Powerizer gimmick. Okay, so basically to activate the Powerizer, everything that's going to happen is going to be done up in this section. You're going to have the wings flip out, shoulder guns pop out of the shoulder, and the faceplate pop up. You have Arrow Bolt in its shield chest thingy mold. You want to go ahead and peg it in, just like so. And you get, the little extra sound when he's plugged in.
Thanks for the power upgrade.
And you have Optimus Prime saying thank you. Now you can see more of the lights and stuff from the cannons there. Very faint. I still have like the demo battery in, so I don't know if that's gonna affect it at all, but the wings swung out, and if you go ahead and just press inward here. So you do have that. I would have liked to have seen maybe some circuitry going, some wires and lights going down into the hand here. Maybe to light up the sword. Yeah, there's no way to turn off the talking once it's done. But so you just have to hope for it. But you can also, as I said, remove Arrow Bolt. And it can peg in the arm here on the side, or any of the other weaponizers. So you can even hold it. Maybe it's supposed to be a blaster. Oh, it's really going. Now I did talk about the reset button, which is the black button here. You just pull that down, and that will pull everything back in. Slide the wings down, just like so. And the reason we're doing this is I want to make a note of something. If you notice the peg here on an Arrow Bolt, it's actually like a stage. It goes from a wider peg into a much more narrow peg. And it's really that tip that's what triggers the spring to have the weapons pop out. Here's Dragonus, who, by the way, is being repainted as a Decepticon, but with the name Dragonus. And just try to peg it in here. Let's see if I was not sure it was going to work, but it did work in terms of triggering the
thanks for the power upgrade.
The weaponizer gimmick, but I'm glad to see that worked. But it did not actually sit in all the way, which I want to point out for that. It was not as flush. Now here you have Lancelot, who of course is being repainted in red and white as an Autobot, and you can just push him in there. That's interesting. Oh, this is interesting.
Let's settle this in the sky.
Lancelot, as you can just see, cannot peg in far enough to trigger the spring-loaded gimmick. That's actually very interesting, because I thought the pegs here were very similar, but I guess not. So your mileage may vary in terms of which mini-cons you can use. I mean, I really don't see any reason not to use Aerobot. I mean, or Arrow Bolt, because that's really who this is meant for. And as you can see, I'm removing the sword, because the one last thing I do want to show you, that's a long peg, there is storage here on the back for the sword. You can just, there's a slot right there, and you just slide it in, but unfortunately it does cause the cap to sit up even further, and the button is there to use for more lights and sounds, but it's nothing different. So that's basically Power Surge Prime in a nutshell. We'll just pause for my final thoughts. Power Surge Optimus Prime is a fun toy, and I have to stress the fact that it's a fun toy. A lot of collectors are complaining about the lack of articulation and that, but I mean, you got the wrists, you have elbows. I mean, you can get some good action poses, as you can see here. My little issues are basically that sometimes the springs don't sit right. I mean, as you can see, that cannon was up a little higher than it should be. I don't like the fact that the cap doesn't sit flush. My biggest issue, though, is how this comes packaged. This is an open front Try-Me packaging. Let me just tell you from experience, if you're going into a store looking to buy a figure, guaranteed if it's in like this open front packaging with the Try-Me, it's going to be broken. I highly recommend that if you're going to buy this figure, buy it from an online retailer, be it Amazon, Big Bad, TF Source, Toys R Us, Target, what have you, just so you can be guaranteed you're getting something that hasn't been fondled by some destructive child. I've seen that happen, and I really think Hasbro should have put this in just a closed box. One other little issue I have, I know a lot of you are going to laugh, is the instructions. I just wanted to show these. This is the instructions for the entire figure. One sheet, one side that's supposed to cover everything. And here on the back they just show the cross-sell and how to change the batteries. That's a bit much. I really think that they could have gone for more of a fold. It's bad enough we've lost the glossy paper, which this matte finish makes things hard to read. But it really just seems like they're skipping steps or combining steps so that the transformation isn't as clear. With all that said, again, this is a fun toy. It's really geared more towards kids, but it is nice to finally have a large Optimus Prime in the Robots in Disguise line that isn't some 3-step changer or some mega robot. I really would have liked it if it was in his black and red color scheme that we've been seeing in the cartoon lately. If this means that he's going to get a color change, fantastic, but who knows. Overall, I think I'm going to enjoy the Warrior class version a little bit better, just because it'll be a little easier to handle and, you know, things of that nature. But, with all that said, this is your old pal Chuck. For Power Surge Optimus Prime and Minicon Aerobolt, we will see you next time.